Welcome YouTubers, this is Max 1 Chase 1 and welcome again to the Max 1 Chase 1 channel. What we're going to be doing today is that I'm going to be changing out the rear airbags for my Volvo 420. I'm going to be changing out the left and the right airbag. I'm changing the airbags out because of dry rot and deterioration of the airbags. It's been a while since they was changed, so to keep from having myself on the side of the road because of a blown airbag, I changed the ones on my cab the other day, so I'm going to go ahead and change the ones on the suspension today. I'm going to go through the steps on how I'm going to remove the airbags and reinstall the new airbags. You can see some issues of problems I might have seen or I'm going to catch with replacement because I'm going to be using conventional tools. Some of the stuff I'm going to use, I'm going to make sure that I use the jack stands. These are heavy duty jack stands. Make sure you use those instead of trying to shore them up with dunnage. These are very heavy capabilities so they can withstand the weight of the truck here on the aft end. All right, I'm going to stop here and start getting into the changing of the airbags.
Now here I am at the left rear airbag, and I'm going to explain what I did just like I did with the cab. Here's one bolt, two bolts, and the third bolt on the outside of the frame. What I did a couple of days earlier, I sprayed some penetrating oil so that these bolts can break loose. And after a day or so, I did come over here and I did break these bolts loose. So they are gonna come loose. I didn't break this one loose. For some reason I just didn't get to it. Also, that is the airline. Also, I sprayed that with some penetrating oil, so that should be able to come off pretty easy as well. And now for some of the problems and the issues that I'm going to catch, which I just said earlier. Up under the bottom where the airbag sits on top of this frame, again you can kind of see the oily residue where I did spray the bottom bolt up under the airbag with some penetrating oil. And when I was trying to break the bolts loose so I can have an easy removal, again, this is the problem I ran into. I started turning that bolt right there and it just broke off. So I said, okay, one bag is no problem. It's got to come off anyway. But one thing about it is good that it didn't break off high up in there. It broke off with maybe a little bit of a millimeter of an inch below this frame here. So it may stay on when I get ready to add the bags up. But not only did it do one, I come over to the other side, and what did it do here? It did the same thing too. It wrung off. Alright? While I'm down here, I'm going to show you the reason why I'm replacing the airbags. Look at the dry rot that's here. Do your checks and services. Make sure you check your airbags because, like I said, the same thing. If they burst and lose air, the frame is going to drop and you're going to lose air pressure. And the air pressure in these bags is going to affect all the systems, even your brakes. And now I'm getting ready to go and start the truck and let the airbags air up. Now also too, I'm going to stand back a little bit because, like I say, I did wring the bolts off on the bottom of the airbag, and I'm hoping that they will stay inside that hole and they won't blow out the bag. So just for safety reasons, I'm going to stand back as the truck airs up. The truck is running, waiting for the air to build up, and you can see I'm standing pretty far back just because of those wrung out bolts on the bottom of that airbag. I'm sure that those airbags, when they are fully inflated, they can hold up to 100 pounds of 100 psi. I don't want to wind up and be standing near it and all of a sudden that bag blew away from my bottom there. Okay, bags are filling. The suspension is going up. The bags look like they are full. And now I'm getting ready to go in and place the jacks, turn the truck off, then place the jacks up on the frame. Now as I air the airbag up,
this frame, it pushed the truck backwards. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna push the jack stands about here. So as the air begin to go out, it shouldn't travel that much. I'm gonna try to get the jack stands as close as I can. That looking like some nice gap. I say it's about a ½ an inch. Again, like I said, the same thing. The truck is gonna come back, but by the time it comes back, it should be on the frame. So now with the jack stands in place, I'm gonna go ahead and drop the airbag pressure and let the weight of the truck set down on the jack stands. Pressure's dropping. The frame is set down on the jack stands. You can see there's a wrinkle in that bag. And a wrinkle in this bag. You can hear the air pressure going through the valve. Alright, so all the pressure is off the airbags. And now I'm going to wind up and unscrew the airbags so I can take them out. Also, just on the safety side, I went in the cab and I looked at the air pressure gauges. My front on the left and my rear on the right. I'm still going to do just like I did with the cabin airbags. I'm going to go to the tanks and purge the whole system. And because when I get ready to take the airline out of the bag, I want to make sure I don't have any high pressure air still in the system that could fly off and hit me in the face or something. So to purge my system, I'm going to go to this first tank here. I'm just going to pull the bleeder valve and let the air drop. I'm not going to let it run the whole time while you're hearing it, because like I said, that's a lot of high noise from the air coming out, just to kind of give you a taste of it. And for those who was wondering where was that air tank located, that's the front wheel, that's the driver's side. It's that first tank right there in the front. It's got a little wire to it so you can kind of purge any water that might be in your system every once a month, once a week, and purge your system just to get the water out the tank. But I use that one to purge the whole system. Now let's go in and take a look at the gauge. When I came in to look at the gauge, I forgot to press the parking brake, and it was still some air in the system. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to pump the brakes and pump the system on down. Going down to 60. Alright, and that should do it. Here are some of the tools I'm going to be using. A Phillips screwdriver, a 18mm socket, 17mm socket, a 1/2-inch drive ratchet, 1/2-inch drive breaker bar, pair of slip joint pliers, pair of wire cutters, and here's my deep well socket set that I got from Harbor Freight. I like the way they did this, and I'm going to try to do the rest of my toolbox just like these are. What they do, they come in with screws in it. And what you do, you can loosen the screw, and that unlocks the lock. So you can go to your socket, take it out, close it back, and that locks all the sockets so they'll stay in place. So when you finish, you can put it right back in the same place. You don't have sockets all loose in your toolbox. Also, I have my other millimeter sockets that I can use just in case if I need something other than the 18 millimeter socket that I have. All right. Other than that, that should be all the tools you need to take the rear airbags off the rear of your truck or this Volvo 420. All right, first let's start off with these 2 bolts here. These are the 21 millimeter, and on the inside it requires the 18 millimeter socket. So the 18 millimeter socket is going to go to the inside. And the 21 millimeter deep well socket is going to go to the outside and loosen the bolts and take them off. I already had loosened them, so these are easy to come off. So I'm not going to show you this whole procedure watching me unscrew this nut. I'm just going to go stop here and let you see that I am going to take these 2 nuts off, nuts and bolts. Alright, here's another tip. Don't take your 2 bolts completely all the way out. I found out the hard way because once I took these bolts out, I didn't have nothing to hold the bag in place while I took this loose. So what I do, I just put the bolts back in, and now I'm going to go to the airline and take this out of the airbag. So for anybody else, I would say take this one out first and then take your 2 bolts out. You can kind of see the plate that it gave you. The plate that you have. So if you leave those 2 bolts in, do the airline first and then do your 2 side bolts. Okay, now I've taken the airline out of the bag. Notice I had some twist ties on the airline. I took those loose to give me a little bit more freedom to get the hose out. Alright, now I'm gonna go back and take these last 2 bolts out that are the large bolts. And when you put them back, make sure you match them up. Here's one. And here's 2. Now you may be able to see the bag has some flex to it. And there it comes out just like that. I'm not going to get into too much detail on how I got the bag out. But I do see there's a little bit of a trouble to get it between here. So I'm going to try to work it back in this direction. So it did come between the adjuster rod and the rear end. So this is the bag. You see that bolt? It broke off. So all of these items here can be thrown away. The new bag do come with the bracket and this bolt already attached. So I don't have to worry about adding anything else. So now since the left side is out, I'm gonna go now and clean up all these areas where the frame was touching metal to metal. Might have a little bit of rust on the background. Do a little touch up paint. Touch that up a little bit, clean that up a little bit so I won't have no metal to metal and producing some rust. And that is all to it to take a airbag out of a Volvo 420 in the rear suspension. The same thing's gonna go for the right side. But again, it's real easy with conventional tools. This saves me $110 per hour at the shop. Just take your time and just have patience with it. These airbag systems, they're pretty easy and they're pretty mechanic friendly. Well, all that work and I didn't have any music going on. So as you can kind of hear, I got the average white band. So enjoy the music. Now here's the new airbag. Again, you kind of see it do have the plate and the bolt and the airline. And this is the bolt and the bottom base here. Since I broke the nut off, I went to my shop and I got another bolt and a washer to fit here. To get it in, I do have a little flex to it, so I can get it in there. Alright, so here we go. Gotta find out the right side. Flange goes on the outside, just like that. I'm gonna cheat a little bit. I'm gonna put these bolts in. And remember that the bolts go from inside to outside. Again, if you can get someone to help you, that makes it a whole lot better too. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is try to get the pin in the bottom. And now that the bag is a little high, the truck is a little high, so I'm still gonna get it in there one way or the other. I'm gonna pause here for a second and fight with it. Again, like I said, I'm gonna figure it out. Again, along with my Army training as a cargo specialist, I found out a way I can pull this up and get the hose to line in and put it in there. There we go, that's one. And that's two. So you can't do stuff by yourself. You have to have a little patience and figure it out. Put a bolt there. And a bolt there. Now what I did to get in that situation here, I put the bottom bolt in first. But just know where the thread is started. And then after that, I just had to horse this up, stretch the bag a little bit, and line the hole up. So now I'm set. All I gotta do is just take this coat hanger off. Again, a coat hanger is a valuable tool that you can always have to use for anything. Again, this is 88 Hotel, cargo specialist type training, doing stuff here like this. Alright, here's the final product of the reinstallation. The bottom bolt is pulled in nice and tight. The bolts are here reinstalled nice and tight. The air hose is reinstalled at the top of the airbag, and that is the completion of the left side, and that is all to it, putting on an airbag on a rear suspension of a Volvo 420. Alright, here's the right side. Both bolts are tight. Airline is clean and tight. The bag is attached at the bottom.
Good tension on that. And the outside bolts here are tight. And everything looks nice and clean. Painted some of the frame so they won't have any rust on the back of it. So here's the final job. Sun's going down. I've been out here since about 4 o'clock. It's about 6 o'clock now. So just imagine in 2 hours, that saved me $220. And the sun hadn't went down yet. And did this after work. We're gonna add this puppy up and hope everything goes well. Well, I started the truck, airing the system up, and we're gonna see how the bags feel and see if it rises up enough to get off the jack stand. Well, let's see if the airbag feel enough to get it off the jack stands. Here is the final product of the takeout of the old bags and the reinstallation of the new airbags. That's the right side, and that is the left side. Nice, good, clean job. I noticed that I did do some painting on some of the areas that had rust there. In a shop, they will not take time to do that. So this is a good reason for you to do it yourself, so you can satisfy your own machine on how good you want it to look and how protected you want the structure areas to be. Again, save yourself some money and learn to do it yourself. And I hope this video has helped a lot of you all with these large trucks to be able to do some of this work yourself. For the closing of this video, here's one of my old airbags. Take a look at this airbag. See how it's cracked and split here? Take a good routine check of your airbags to make sure that none of your airbags look like this, where they're dry rotted and they are ready to break or bust. If you see cracks along the seam here, it's just like a car tire. If it gets too bad, this holds a lot of air, pretty much like I said, around about 100 psi. If this bag bursts and it puts you on the side of the road, it can be nobody else's fault but your own. If you have a motorhome, deflate your airbags, and when they relax, look for these cracks. And if they are like that, make sure you replace your airbags. Now, since I have replaced the airbags, just like I have done here, I've got this rug top that I've placed over the back of my truck where the sun and the ultraviolet rays cannot penetrate to begin to dry rot or dry out my brand new airbags. I recommend you do the same. Use some form of material to cover your airbags and also cover your tires. Again, you spend the money for them, try your best to protect them.